right. So thank you for coming to another episode. My name is Anne Jean Pierre with the Godly Business Podcast and a host and coach with Better Saleswoman. I'm going straight into our conversation today because, as you can see, I have a guest, Danielle Johnson. She is the CEO, right, and founder of Posh and Pretty. Okay. She does eyebrows, I
Mhm.
understand, right? And
Mhm.
so she's going to talk about being a businesswoman, being an entrepreneur, the challenges that she faces as an entrepreneur, as a Black entrepreneur, and how she's overcoming. So I'm very, very excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, thank you for having me first. My name is Danielle Johnson. I am the owner, artist, and educator of Posh and Pretty Brow Bar. I am located in Houston, Texas, but I also service clients in my hometown of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been in Houston for 11 years now, so I guess this is my home now. I deny that it's Louisiana tie-dye, but this is where I make my living. I started my business in 2018. It's kind of a two-part thing. I started the business one because I've always had an interest in eyebrows. It started in high school, and I was maybe like about 15. I'm a child of the 99 and the 2000s, and we were very big. We were very big on just plucking our eyebrows till they barely existed. Okay, and so back then, my mama was one of those you got McDonald's money type of mamas. So my mama was not trying to give me the money to go to the nail shop and get mine waxed off like my friends. So I took it upon myself because I was like, well, I ain't about to be left out. I taught myself how to do my own eyebrows. So what I would do, because this was before like we had YouTube and social media and all that, I would go to the library and I would get makeup books. Now, ironically, I'm horrible at doing makeup. I cannot do makeup at all. But only reason I was getting those books was because I was trying to see how they did the brows. So
That's so
it's I know. So it started from there. I started doing my own brows, and my friends were like, "Oh, can you do mine? Can you do?" And I never thought, and like all that time, like, "Oh, this is something I could do to make money." That never, again, even though we were going to the mall and getting ours waxed off, I never considered like this is something. I always just looked at it like, it's something I could do good, no big deal. So the second half of the story is in 2018. I started going through it on the job I was at the time. It's a long story, but to try to summarize it, I used to work in higher education. So I was a financial aid advisor for like over a decade before I did this. And the school I was working at that particular time, I had a coworker. I worked there for 4 years, and she would get behind on her work every year. Every year. And I don't mean like a couple of days. She would be months behind on her work. So back then, we would tell them the new fast food would come open in January. So we would tell everybody, "Well, turn your stuff in early, so then it can be done by August." Well, she would have people turning stuff in like February, and it'll be July, and she hadn't even touched it yet. Mind you, she was at work every day. She would just come to work and just kick it. so,
I know it's
so
like, trust me.
Listen, so it was like no reason for her to be that far behind. So, needless to say, to this day, I don't know what happened, but my assumption is maybe a parent, a student, somebody complained to like my boss's boss because he called a meeting and it was only, I worked at a community college, so it was a real small office. So it was only me, her, and one other advisor. So he's telling us, "Oh, well, when one of us gets behind, we help each other catch up." And I'm like, "I ain't helping her do that. She be here every day like me." Now, I ain't say that, but I'm one of those people that wear how I feel on my face.
Really, okay,
So I'm in the meeting
same.
like, I'm in the meeting like, who is we? so, so maybe like, oh, and I had already made up in my mind, I'm not helping sis do nothing. Also, let me kind of sidestep this story and say that our other coworker, maybe like 6 months before that, her husband passed away. Her husband
Wow.
died of cancer. So when she was out, they never, him or my other boss, they never told me or the one I'm talking about to like go help her get her work. We don't know that she's coming back. Mm-mm. They was just letting the work pile up. So me being the type of person I am, I would finish my work and I would just go in her office and get her work and do it for her because I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's real messed up. So let somebody come back to work after
Oh,
grieving a
that's true.
spouse. Yeah, with like work piled up to the ceiling. So in this meeting, I'm sitting there like, you didn't even have that energy for somebody that had a valid reason to be behind on their work. And this heifer here every day, and we're supposed to, absolutely not. So like a week had passed, and I still remember this because this was like the first week of summer. And in the summer at that school, we got to work flex time. So you either got a Monday off or a Friday off. And I still remember this was the first Friday of that flex schedule. And I'm gonna tell you 2 seconds why. So he comes in my office to confront me on why I haven't submitted none of her work. So I forgot to say when we were
No,
in the meeting.
no, whose work? The girl that was behind?
Yeah, the one who's there every day and just don't do her work. I forgot to say in the meeting, he said he told us to help her with hers once we caught up with our on ours. He shouldn't have said that because I could be facetious when I want to be. So I was like, "Oh, you said help her, girl? If I didn't care if I had one piece of paper in my mailbox. I was gonna go get that piece of paper and take my
I'm
precious
work.
time working on it because you said do hers when I catch up with mine." So that's what he said. That's what I said when he came to my office. So he was like, "Oh, I noticed you haven't turned in anything for her yet." And I'm sitting there like, "Oh, well, you said to do it." So he kind of attitude me. He was like, "Well, how much work do you have left?" And I'm like, and I really did have like a little pile of work. And I was like, "Well, that right there." And he was like, "Well, I don't want you to do nothing else after you do that." I'm sitting there like, "How you can't buck with me about doing somebody
Doing my
else?"
work.
So then I just was like, you know what? Because once he started hollering at me, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cut the mess. So I was like, well, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm not gonna do her work. So this man stood up, slams his hand on my desk, and get in my face and was like, well, you do something. When I tell you to do something, you do it. I'm your boss. This. So I'm like, oh, you must forgot what we was saying. So I told him, I'm like, well, listen, you might be my boss, but you're not my daddy and you're not my God. I don't have to do nothing that's not in my job description. And it's nowhere in my job description that I got to help somebody else do their work that be here every day. Mind you, this lady, you want to know where she was at? At home on flex time. That was double insult.
Which is an option.
Thank you. I'm like, you
You
should
could
have
have
told
come into
her.
work to catch up on your own work, but you
Exactly.
chose not to, and you putting pressure on me to. She don't care about her job. Why should I care about her job?
But this is my
I get
thing. You the boss. You should have told her she wasn't flexing nothing till she got up on this work. So I'm sitting there like you yelling at me about her work when she at home with her feet up watching Ricky Lake. What I look like? So I was like, mm-mm. So needless to say, me and him had a verbal exchange. I come back to work that Monday, and he called me to come to his office. They ambushed me. So it was him, my other boss, and a guy over HR. They put me on probation for my job performance. Yeah, exactly.
not the other person that was behind that they were asking you to help.
Yes, they put me on. So out of nowhere, I'm in this ambush meeting and they're pulling out. When I tell you it's the most like asinine stuff, they're like, oh, because yeah, see, you messed up. You forgot to sign this paper right here. And I'm sitting there like, well, nobody's going to see this paperwork but us and an auditor. I can literally sign it right now and who's going to know? Because once somebody submits something to the financial aid office, you see what I'm saying? Like, who's looking at it but us? So I'm like, that's not even that big of a deal. I can literally sign the paper right now. And I don't even think that's anything they care about in an audit. That's just for y'all to know who did it.
It wasn't that. Obviously, it wasn't
Oh,
that.
absolutely not. Because I'm like, now just 72 hours ago, you were yelling in my face about me not doing somebody else's work, and now I'm in trouble because I'm a screw up. So it was obviously like a scare tactic. So that moment, out of all I remember of that moment is, first of all, I've never been more mad in my life. I
I can imagine.
literally was seeing red. And at the time, my daughter was like 3 years old, maybe. She's 11 now. She's like 3 or 4. And all I could think about was my daughter because I'm like, wow, this man really know I got a child. Like I just said, my whole family lives in Louisiana. It's not like I could lose my job and move in with my mom or no. So it's like you now playing with my livelihood, which affects how I feed my child. And I don't know why that just enraged me because I'm like, is that serious? Because I stood up to you and I told you something you was trying to do wasn't fair. You're not going to threaten my job. So it was something in me that just switched that day. That was like never again, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. Honestly, my mind didn't even go to, oh, I'm just gonna leave and do my own thing. It wasn't even that. I just knew that like I'm never gonna be in a position again where this a job is my only source. Because at the time,
Yeah.
that job was the only income I had. I didn't have nothing to fall back on. And it was just something in me was like, never again. It was for that reason. And also, I was like, so if this ever happens to me again, oh, I forgot to say they ended up putting me on probation. Do you want to know how long I was on probation? This is how you know it's BS. I
Yeah.
was on probation for a year. A year. Because that's how long it took me to find another job. But yeah, I'm like, ain't no job putting you on probation for no year, especially if for your job performance. So it was obviously just a scare tactic. But the other thing, I was like, never, if this ever happens to me again, in that moment, I'm going to be like, F you in this job. Because I couldn't do that at that time. Because again, I'm like, I got to think about my child. Now, if I didn't have a baby and it was just me, I would have flipped over tables. I would have punched a couple of people on the way out. And I would have just became a barista at Starbucks or something.
I
But
feel you.
I had to think about my baby. So I was like, I ain't gonna go crazy like I want to, but it sparked something in me to start a plan. And the way that my business comes into the story is maybe like about 2 weeks after all that happened, I was on Instagram and I was following this girl that did makeup. And I guess at some point she transitioned into doing microblading. I had never heard of microblading, never seen it before. I just thought it had something to do with eyebrows. So I was like, okay, well, I know how to do eyebrows. And she had that little infamous chart that was like, if you do this many clients, you can make X, Y, Z a week. And I wasn't even caring about the money. I just saw that whatever this was had earning potential. And at the time, I was like, oh, my mind was like, let me just get something else in case I come to work tomorrow. These people want to let me go. I feel like I'm a prideful person that works to my advantage at times. But so my mind was like, let me get a second job. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, this is something I didn't even know existed, but maybe this could work for me. So I sent the flyer to a couple of my friends and I was like, do y'all think I could do this? And everybody was like, yeah, you already know how to do it. I know you got it. So that's what I did. I took out a loan with my credit union because the class I think was like $2,700 or something like that. Yeah, and I signed up for the class and it just went from there. So in my mind, I was thinking of this. Again, I'm still not in like I'm gonna start my own business. My mind at the time was like, I just need something to make a couple extra $100
Yeah.
a month. So I get another job. Again, just in case they let me go, I got something to tie me over till I find something else. So I was never on this like I'm about to be a boss, babe. It was none of that. Honestly, this was supposed to be done by now. So all me being where I am right now is just God because my vision was not that it wasn't going that far. So I took the class. The class actually ended up being horrible. It was a
Really?
terrible. Oh my God, yes, the class was terrible. But I'm also the type of person I don't like to waste money. So that made me double down on it. I'm like, oh no. Again,
Like,
I
I'm
told you,
gonna take this one. I already paid.
right. And I told you I took a loan out. And also at that time, I was like I was on my Dave Ramsey. So I was really heavily paying down my debt and all that. So you know how
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey make you feel like if you borrow $5, you just the scum of the earth.
Gazelle,
Yes,
whatever he.
yes. So I'm already feeling high key guilty because I done took this loan out. So I was like, I know I gotta pay this loan back. I'm about to get some return on my investment. So I ended up finding another person like in my area, and I did another training with her, and that kind of helped me a lot. But yeah, it kind of went on from there. And it wasn't until I left that job and went to the job I got after that, that's when it sank in that like this is just not for me no more. And like I would literally get physically sick going to the job, and it was nothing like even that bad at the job. I just knew like this life is not for me no more. Like,
I feel like at one point, like even if when you said the never again moment, it made me think of Dave Ramsey as well because he talks about that a lot. Like when you get to a point where you like, never again will I be in this
hmm
situation, never again, and it does snap. And I'm glad at
hmm
least it's not early on to where you're like, you know what, I need to look at something else. And it's sad because unfortunately in our community, it takes that to
hmm
be like never
yep,
again. But I
yep.
bet you're gonna teach your daughter
Oh yeah, we already on
never
it.
to in a W two as the
hmm
only source of income. And nowadays, I'm telling people like even if you have a W two, you better make sure you have two or three
Yes,
because you never
exactly.
know if you don't want
hmm
to start a business. You never know, and how the state of everything is going on right now. You cannot just rely on the W two. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, that's probably the best route because you
hmm
kill, you kill what you eat. And
hmm
that's what I love about sales. You kill what you eat. And the thing is, you have to make sure you have that why. Like I
hmm
can't let my daughter down. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? So
hmm
that's
That's
what's up.
very true, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, for me, it was never about money. Like I said, it was never about me. Like, oh, I'm about to be on my boss babe, da, 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 da. Because I feel like that wasn't even a wave at that time. I feel like that kind
Yeah.
of peaked during the pandemic time. Like, so at that time, again, it was just like I never again want a job to be my only source of income, and I never again want anybody outside of me to determine whether or not my kid gonna eat. And that still is the fire that burns in me to this day. Like always see a lot of people online like, oh, entrepreneurship is so hard and I want to quit every day. I can honestly tell you I've never felt that way. Now, have I felt like bump this, I'm finna get me a job? Yes. But the job was to supplement the business. I ain't never felt like, oh, I'm finna quit this business. I've never felt that way. If anything, my mindset is always like, well, what can I do okay, we got slow sales, what we finna do? Okay, I
Yeah,
need to
it's the other
relocate,
way
what we
around.
finna do? Exactly. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
use
because
the
most
job as
people
leverage.
think I need a side hustle to supplement my income from the W 2, but you're approaching it, I'm going to get this W 2 to supplement me to keep pushing
Exactly.
my business forward. So that's a completely different mindset where you're like,
Exactly.
okay, the W 2 is my backup, not the
hmm
business. It's my backup. And I think that's a huge difference between the mindset of a hustle, I have a side hustle, versus, hey,
Clock
I'm trying to
it.
build a business. That's two completely different
Yep.
things. You know what I mean?
hmm
Because when you approach it from a side hustle, you don't keep track of what you talked about in your YouTube video. You don't keep track of your
Mm-mm.
expenses. It's a side hustle. What does it matter? But
Yep.
once you're like, okay, this is a business. I need to know how much I have coming in, what's my expenses are, all of
hmm
those things, so I can move forward and just be like, okay, I need to make at least $1,000 a month. How I'm gonna do that?
Exactly.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? That's different than
Exactly.
like a side hustle. So that's what's up.
hmm Because I feel like
Uh,
when you think like that, I feel like what's beneath that is you are fearing success. Like to me, that's what I think lies beneath that. Like, and again, I feel like listen, keep your job as long as you can. Even when your business turning a profit, keep the job about 6, 7 months longer to bank some money,
I
then
say
leave.
that all the time. There's this whole movement that I saw on social media where people are like, "Oh, bump your 9 to 5." I said,
Mhm.
"What? You better keep your 9 to 5 for as long as you can because guess what? That credit card that you just swiped for that supply that you just bought, if it takes you 5 months, you know what I'm saying, to get the
Mhm.
customer base to build that, who gonna pay that
Mhm.
credit card? You see what I'm
Fact.
saying? So like people always like, oh, bump your 9 to 5. No, use your 9 to 5, leverage your 9 to 5
Mhm.
so you can build the income that you need. So you're not sitting here stressed out and not have any business. And the other thing you said that was really, really important to me, you said that the Dave Ramsey about learning to manage your money.
Mhm.
I feel like if you cannot manage your W-2 paycheck, you will it's a recipe for disaster trying to manage your business
Mhm.
income.
Very
Because
true.
no matter where you at, whether it's on your personal finances or business finances, if you cannot manage that, it's a recipe for disaster. You how can you grow? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you in debt, you have no idea what's coming in, what's going out. Like lately, me and my husband been going out to eat a lot. Like
Same girl.
stupid,
I'm
stupid.
going
Like
out to eat after this.
listen, we were this month. I don't even want to talk about how much money we spent. It was ridiculous, right? I don't even want to look at it. But the thing is, I also already know, I already have my emergency money in place.
Mhm.
All of my bills are paid. I have all the, so this is money that usually I would put in savings or whatever. I can afford to do that. But
Mhm.
can you afford to do those things when you have no idea what's coming in and you just spending money? So
Mhm.
when you come in your business, you're not going to be able to manage the flow of entrepreneurship because you can have months where it's like clients coming in, coming in, coming in, and then you have
Mhm.
months where you're like crickets. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And those bills are still due.
Yeah. Oh, I learned that the hard way. That was me. 'Cause another thing that I would say, and I never hear people talk about this, is that's a piece of it too. Yes, you need to learn to manage your money while you're at a job, but another thing you need to learn is like you get this false sense of you have more money when you work a job and you have a business. So I feel like a lot of times people will leave the job, even if the business is actually making money, because you're equating your dual income stream to what you're going to do in this business independently. And I feel like I never hear people, and that was the mistake I made because before I quit my job, I saved money. I paid down like everything I could except my car and my student loans. And I still ended up like having just a struggle like a year or two ago because I quit my job to go full time in 2021. So it's probably 2022. Because, like you just said, you have one too many months of slow sales, and all of that planning kind of goes out the window. Because if you have slow sales for 3 months in a row, and that was your emergency savings, now you like, oh Lord, you're in the red. So it's like you have to also plan, not just in the sense of like let me save, let me manage my money well, but you also need to actually like pull that money apart and see like what do you actually make, like what do you average monthly in this business if your goal is to do this full time, because I feel like
Yeah.
that was a mistake I made.
I think one of the things I always advise is before you quit your W-2 job and do your
Mhm.
business full time, one of the ways to avoid that is like you said, one separate the two, but also see if you have, if possible, do a whole year of your business and see, okay,
Mhm.
because what happened for me, I never left my W-2 job, but I have like a Airbnb business as well, right?
Mhm.
And there are seasons where you get bookings. And then there are seasons where it's super slow. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And if you're like, oh, the first 3, 4 months, you're like, oh, I'm making money, so now I can quit my job. Well, you didn't make it long enough to find out, oh, there's a
Mhm.
slow season. You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
that's what
what are
happened to
you gonna
me.
do in a slow season? So you have to prepare for it. So I always say at least give yourself a year of just seeing what it is if you had to live on just that income for a year.
Mhm.
And then the thing is too, like for example, right? I started my Airbnb in 2020.
Mhm.
So that's completely different than after everything start coming back up. You would think, oh, things start coming back up, it should be bring more money. Well, the thing is, 2020 was an anomaly where I was getting a lot of travel nurses.
Mhm.
So they would stay for 3, 4 months at a time. Well, that's not the case when things start getting back to normal.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So that's something, it's like you not even accounting for that. And that took me like almost 2 years after the fact to realize, oh snap,
Mhm.
this is what normal looks like. This is what's
Mhm.
abnormal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I say at least give it yourself a year so you know, oh, okay, summer picks up, it falls down in the fall and you start picking back up again and whatever, so you have an idea of like where your business flow
Mhm.
is. And then like you said, if you merging your money and you're like, yeah, I have an extra $3,000 from my job, my W-2 income, and you spending with the 5,000 from your business, and you're like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm balling. Remember,
Mhm.
this $3,000 not gonna be here no more.
Right.
So
Exactly.
account
Exactly.
for that.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
in
and
my case, it took me. So I started my business in 2018. I didn't quit my job till 2021. But I feel
smart.
like what threw me off. So my business is physical. Like I have to physically be there. So
Hmm.
that made it challenging. So whenever I would listen to the podcast and stuff, because they all say that thing about like make sure you have 3 to 6 months of your savings set. Oh no, is that what I'm trying to say? Stuff like that. Basically, like make sure that oh no, your business is making what you make at your job before you quit your job. Well, in my
Yeah.
case, I could not go by that metric because I was limited to the weekend because my job was from 8 to 5. Again, I gotta physically be there to do your eyebrows. I wasn't selling anything e-commerce. So I was like, well, I don't feel like that metric can apply to me because if I'm going by what y'all saying, I'm never gonna make
Yeah,
enough because I'm
that's
limited
another
to
good
two
point.
days a week. Yeah.
That's a good point you're bringing up. When people are listening to those podcasts, it's like, remember, apply it to your life. Even with
Hmm.
Dave Ramsey. Dave
Hmm.
Ramsey said a lot of the things he says make sense. Apply it to your life. You have to
Hmm.
realize like this is not a one size fit all. Just
No.
like finance is not a one size fit all. You have to realize like this ain't gonna work for me. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's why I said like so if I was basing it on like okay, and mind you also like 2020, I literally worked every day that year. I'm not exaggerating. I worked every single day. So the only time I had to like make money in my business was after I got off work at 5 and on the weekend. So I'm like, okay, if I go by that metric, I will never know, if this is enough because this is like a whole 40 hours that I don't know if there's potential there or not. So honestly, I kind of just had to take the risk and see. Now, like I said, the 2021 was fine. It was 2022 because again, another thing you don't account for is things outside of your control. Nobody knew we was going to end up in a recession with this crazy housing market. None of that was on the table in 2018 when I started my business. So that goes back to what you were saying about like you can plan well and all that, and then stuff still kind of become a mess. Because like we're talking about your Airbnb, it was the same thing for me. In 2020, I was booked up. I had people everywhere. Everybody was taking classes, and all of that slowed down so much in 2021. And so again, kind of combining what I was saying earlier to what I was just saying, to me, I'm not being able to recognize the slow season because again, I'm only working 2 days a week. And now I have money from my business. And like I told you back then, it was the side hustle for me. I was like, I just need to make a couple XYZ dollars. So just in case this job be on one. So at that time, I was putting the money together because I didn't see it as like, um,
Yeah, I bet.
I'm trying to quit my job. It was more so like this is supplemental. That shift ended up happening. But before that shift happened, I'm looking like you said, I got this steady money coming in here and then this extra money coming in here. Okay, I should be good to quit. Because again, I was like, I don't know. I can't really say like, oh, in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna have to leave this job at some point to see if I can actually make the same amount of money because I knew what I was making in a weekend and it was pretty good. But at the same time, my time was limited. So like
Yeah.
with doing permanent brows, for example, back then it would take me about 4 hours to do somebody's brows. So that basically meant I could only see two people in a day. That's four
Mm.
people in the weekend. So I'm like, it's hard for me to know. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, am I going to be able to reply? I don't know because I'm limited on how many people I can fit in a day. So I feel like that's also not talked about is like that metric as it applies to service based businesses because it's the same thing. Like if I clean houses, yes, I can do the calculation, but it's only so much I could physically do, in
Yeah,
an allotted time.
but like you said, at one point you have to make the jump and take the risk
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that's what it is. It is a risk.
Hmm.
You have to take the jump and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna test it out. I
Hmm.
like you said too. You have to have faith
Hmm.
that it will work. And guess what? If it doesn't work, corporate America's always there.
That you
That's
know
one thing
what? Facts. That was my
corporate America
thing that I
is
kept telling
there.
myself. I was like, in worst case scenario, I could always come back to higher ed. Yep, that was what I told myself. Absolutely.
That's
And
right. And the thing is, I understand the fear of letting go of that guaranteed in
hmm
quotation check, right?
hmm
Because it is in quotation, like you said. Yeah, they put you on probation, but let's say it was a different type of job where they cut your hours or something, or
hmm
whatever.
hmm
They let go of people. We saw that in 2024, beginning
and
of
then
24. So
now, yes.
I'm saying laid
hmm
off. So it's like nothing is really guaranteed.
Nope.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not.
Except death. Really.
It's, and taxes.
Girl, listen, I have this saying. I said, all I have to do is be black. Those are the only two
Amen.
things that you even
Yeah.
gotta pay taxes.
You
Trump don't.
right. You right. You right. You right about that.
You know what I'm saying? If you know the system, you don't even have to pay taxes. It's so true. Like me being in real estate and me being an investor in real estate, it's
Mhm.
like there's so many things that you can pay less
Mhm.
taxes to almost no taxes with all those loopholes. So yeah, I'm like
Mhm.
when people be like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I said only two thing I gotta do, and I told my boss that one time on my
Yep.
one of my old jobs when he was like, you gotta do this. I said, sir, all I gotta do is be black and die. That's it. I
Amen. My
got
mama used to say that.
I can't change being black, and I can't change the fact that I gotta die. That's it.
Exactly. But that speaks to like the other side of the coin because I see a lot of people online too that's like, oh, don't you do not leave your job. You're crazy if you leave your job. And I feel like at some point, if that's your goal, you got to take the leap because that's living in fear. And like you said, it may not be that you quit the job may quit you. Then what? So it's like if you've been sitting here putting what you working on pause or half doing it because you so afraid to leave this thing over here, they could show up tomorrow. And that's I think was a thing that worked to my benefit of that job doing that to me because I know
Yes.
what it felt like to come to work one day and not know if I was going to have a job the next day or not. So that fear in me had kind of left because I'm like, oh, I have been there, done that before. I already know. I
Yeah,
already
it
knew it was
will
an option. Yeah.
it will
So,
come up, and that's the thing because like what you just said, right? It's like people you have one side of the coin, people are telling you not to leave your job,
hmm
but again, your job could leave you,
hmm
right? And then you sitting there, you working. I look at it this way, and I tell people, you could work for the next 30 years building somebody else's dream, or you could work for the next 30 years building your
hmm
dream.
yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't mind getting that paycheck, supporting your dream, and building my dream.
hmm
You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna I'm not gonna just sit there and think, okay, everything that I have, everything that I want to do, like you said, to feed my child, I have to rely on this boss
hmm
signing my paycheck. Like, no, because then if they tell me goodbye tomorrow, thank you for your services, what happened? Companies, I've been in corporate America since I graduated high school.
hmm
Well, even before that, if you count McDonald's, it is a corporate. I'm like, I've been in corporate America for since forever. So it's like companies restructure. They don't need this department anymore. You let go. If you're lucky, you get a severance package. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's like for you to have the audacity, especially for us millennials, we've seen too much to
Mhm.
just be sitting there like thinking like, oh yeah, I can work at a job for 30 years. Those days are gone. Yes, you could probably find a job that you could stay at for 30 years, hopefully, but it's like if I stay there for 30 years, I'm trying to become the next CEO. I bet you that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to just be a worker like at this level. And some people are comfortable with that. That's
Mhm.
fine. But you better make sure you have plan B and C and D.
Facts. And another thing I'm going to speak to kind of piggyback off what you just said is like what comes with that comfort. Because, like I just said, I was at a job where I have somebody twisting my arm, yelling in my face to help someone else get that ain't even my job. I'm not even required to do that. So it's like we also have to speak to how a lot of these jobs are just toxic and they kill your mental health, they kill your spirit. They just so it's like at what cost does that comfort bring you? You know what I'm saying? So yes, I
Exactly.
feel like it's a risk either way. It's a risk to stay on this job because what's the statistic? Isn't it like 85% of people hate their jobs or something like that? So it's like most of us, most people with a job, you don't like the job. You're literally just there for the money. So I'm like, why not find something where you can make money and you don't hate getting up every day? Like, why not
Listen,
marry the two?
somebody said something that stuck with me, like it struck me. They said that we used to, they talk about old Bible times, idols, right?
Hmm.
People would sacrifice to the idols. Where it's like we're doing the same thing in modern day. We're
Hmm.
sacrificing to these altars for money. That's
Hmm.
what we're doing. So it's like when you're thinking about it from that perspective, it's like you are sacrificing your time with your child, the flexibility of that. And the thing is, money you can always make money. Time you can never get back.
Amen.
That's
I
the
live
one
by that.
you can never, ever,
I live
ever
by
get
that.
back. So
Hmm.
you cannot make up time.
Mm-mm.
You see what I'm saying? I cannot make up the time. So it's like, do I really want to sit here and spend the next 15, 20, 30 years building somebody else's dream? Or do I want to? Because here's the other thing. We talk about legacies a lot.
Hmm.
What does that mean? Somebody needs to define it. What is your legacy mean? Your legacy is I paid the bills so my kids could go to school so they could be part in that cogwheel. That's your
Hmm.
legacy. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's like we have to redefine all of those things. Like it's not just I go to work, I make the money, and this is and that. Like what about your joy? What about your quality of
Amen.
life?
Yep.
Most people have a heart attack on Mondays. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Me either.
I,
Me
I
either.
think jobs literally
Listen.
kill you, and you rather stay there just for the comfort, and it's not
Hmm.
comfortable. Comfort is killing you. A
A
hundred
lot of
thousand
times,
percent.
I always speak to like the analogy. So, like, when I told my mom is a baby boomer. And when I told her I was quitting my job, you would have thought I told her I was finna like sell my body on OnlyFans or something. Because she had a fit. But I think that boomer mindset is like you find job, keep job, you put up with whatever. Because my coworker that I was telling you about earlier, whose husband died, do you know she had been working there, I think maybe like 15 years. I had only been there for like 2 or 3. Do you know she told me she sued our employer for because they were harassing her on the job. Like somebody called her a monkey. Because she was a black lady. Somebody called her a monkey. Somebody accused her of coming to work intoxicated. She doesn't even drink. They were like doing she said like somebody put oil in her seat one time. So she literally sued them. And I used to always sit there and be like, how can you still work for a place that you had to sue to be treated decently when you come to work? And I remember like when I told
Wait,
her,
so she sued them and still continued working there?
yeah, she still works there to this day. So when I told her that, like, I'm not staying here. I'm about to find me another job. Again, I was doing my business, but I'm like, also, I'm about to find me another job. And she would always tell me her mindset was like, and I see Dr. Kimani and them talk about this a lot, where people will have this mindset of like, I'm not gonna let them run me out of here. And that's what she would say. She was like, well,
This
I
is
was
why I
gonna
love
fight,
Stephanie Perry.
huh?
This is why we love Stephanie Perry.
Exactly. Because I'm like,
Because we're
that's
not doing
Stockholm
this.
syndrome. That's Stockholm syndrome. So you
I'm
spent
not
your good
doing this.
money to sue these people to keep a job that treat you like trash. I don't understand
People
that.
who buy bad food, people who buy bad food, don't like the food, but will eat it because they spent the money. That doesn't make any sense to me. That
No.
never made any sense. I'm like, so you getting double the poison.
Exactly.
You already made it one lost. Just let it go. You saying
Exactly.
that? No,
Girl, and
absolutely
I
not.
I had to tell her, like, I don't see it as them running me out of here. I see it as I'm not about to give these people my good years, my youth, my good working years. And if I got this job, I could get another one. So I'm gonna take my talents down to Miami. Y'all could keep this. Because again, I'm like, and I always give people the analogy of a relationship because I feel like that's another place where we can get comfortable. And you just stay with a person, you don't even love them no more. The thrill is gone, but you just there because you're familiar with them. And I feel like that happens at jobs a lot too. Because let me tell you also, so again, all of this happened long before I got there when she sued them. When she made 15 years at this job, do you want to know how they rewarded her? And this is when I knew, baby, this life not for me. They gave her a certificate of like appreciation. They didn't even bother to frame it. They put it in one of them little folder things, like those little paper picture frames, and they gave her a paperweight. Who need a paperweight in like 2020 something? I was like, you mean to tell me after 15 years, harassment, you suing them, you getting called a racial slur, this the reward you get? I refuse to give any job that amount of my life. And that is what's waiting on me on the other side. That's when I knew I'm like, yep, y'all keep this. Mm-mm.
Listen, it's funny because I've worked at so many jobs where I was, because I've been in sales since graduating high
Mm-hmm.
school, right? So I wasn't that great at sales. I started becoming better and better at sales and stuff. And I remember there's so many different times where they're like, okay, the award for this, they would have competition. They were like, oh, this award is $25 gift card, or this award is $500 this, and blah, blah. And people would compete. And at first, I wouldn't compete
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, I don't care about the money. And they're like, okay, so what is it that would make you happy? Like what is it that would motivate you? I said time off. Paid time off.
Give me
That's
some
what
rest,
I'm
man.
not at work and I'm getting paid. That's the reward for me. How
Mm-hmm.
about that? And you know what? Nobody ever asked for that in all the years. They're like,
That's
oh,
crazy.
okay, we can do that. And other people are like, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, closed mouth, don't get fed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. You want me to compete? Because I'm not the type. I was in soccer, I was in track, I was in all of those things. I'm not the type to compete with other people. My
Me
husband
either.
always
Yeah.
say that. It's like he's like, I don't care. I'm not the type to compete. And sororities, all that. I'm like, Chad, let them go. I compete with myself.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do last year? Can I do better this year?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do last month? Can I do better this month? That's it. I don't compete with nobody. So guess what? If you want me to you want to motivate me, it's not money, it's time. Give me time
Mm-hmm.
off and get me paid. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand like the little like when they would do a little thing where they would give you like a little mini Oscar thing. I'm like, what am I gonna do
Mm-hmm.
with this? I'm gonna leave my job. I'll be like, you can recycle it because I don't need it. That's trash.
Right.
I'm trash
Mm-hmm.
anyways. So you can keep it. Thank you for the award. I give it back. They're like, you don't want it for what? It's gonna go in the trash. So you might as well keep it
Right.
for the next month. Give it to somebody else. I'm not gonna need it. Cause and the thing is, it's like people value those things. I'm like that ain't got no. I love estate sales, right? I love to go to estate selling. That's a great way to find properties to buy and stuff like that. So I love going to estate sales. And it dawned on me going to estate sales. I'm like, you work all your life to accumulate all these things. Just as somebody like me who don't know you from Adam can come and pick my pick of your stuff. I'll find clothes, designer clothes with the tag on it.
Mhm.
You spent $500 for this designer clothes. I'll come in there and buy it for $15.
Mhm.
$500. The ticket's still on it. You even got to wear it. I'm buying it for $15. So you mean to tell me I'm gonna go to somebody's job, get a rasp, get all of these stuff to buy stuff to fill my house just so that some random person can come and get that same thing that I spent hours and days of my life working to get for $15?
Mhm.
So with those perspectives, I'm like, no. My why is time. I don't want
Mhm.
to waste my time in building somebody else's empire when I can build my own empire. So I
Facts.
completely agree with
Especially
you.
again, if like you spend 15, 20, 25 years, and like you said, at the end of that, they're giving you a company cup. That's like extra insulting because it's like this
Shocking.
is so thoughtless. It's like you just pull this random cup out of like the marketing closet, and this is my reward for 20 years of my life. And think about what goes into going back to my coworker. What went into you working there for 15 years? Again, aside from the harassment and all that, that's time you probably missed with your child because you had to get her out the way to make sure you was here for 8 and school don't start to 8:15. You know what I mean? It's probably sleep. Again, your husband died. You was at work when he died. So it's just like it's so much that you miss out on, and the same goes for business. It's no different. But I, like you just said, if I'm gonna miss out on time with my child, or if I'm gonna be working in my salon and I find out somebody I love done drop dead, I have a little bit more peace of mind knowing, okay, I ain't gotta ask nobody. Can I go be with my dying relative? Because that was another thing for me. I absolutely hated this like thing of like I gotta ask permission to do anything with my daughter. That was another like fueling thing for me. And on that same job that I was just talking about, my daughter, first day of kindergarten, I asked to come into work an hour late to drop her off, and my boss told me no. I did it anyway. Needless to say, I was always that person at work that was like a rebel. I was like, why we gotta do this? So I always feel like my boss, most of them didn't like me because I was always like the one that said what everybody was thinking. But yeah, I'm like,
Me
lady,
too.
my daughter is only going to be mind you, that's the only child I have. I'm not about to miss my only child's first day of kindergarten because you on some BS. I didn't ask for the whole day off. I asked to come an hour late. So it's times like that that I'm like, I don't want to have to ask nobody to have, special moments for my child. If my daughter plays soccer or something, I'm the mama that's gonna be at every game. I'm not gonna allow some job to be like, oh no, you can't go because you went last week, and we need somebody to get somebody else to do it then. So that was another thing for me. I think a part of my why is that freedom of like I want to be able to show up for my child like I want to, for myself like I want to. And that to me is like a driving thing because that's another thing. I don't know how people do it. When
And
they're,
that's what you said too. It's like that what's important. We all say family matters,
Mhm,
but one, we live in a country that doesn't that says education matter doesn't invest in it, says family matters doesn't invest in it, right? So all of those things that we say matters, but you know how like the Bible says like wherever your heart is, that's where pretty much your God is. I'm paraphrasing,
mhm,
but it's like if you look at your bank account, it will tell you what's important to you. So it's like if you look at your time as a bank account, that will tell you what's important to you. We
mhm,
spend 8 hours, self included, right? Because I still have a W-2 job and do this. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So it's like if you're saying this is important to me, but most of your time is going to this, and you're not doing anything to try to pull yourself away to make that, you're saying, okay, this is more important than everybody else. Because like I said, I feel like my son was born yesterday. He's already about to be 5.
mhm,
You see what I'm saying? And it's like before you know it, that time goes by so quickly. And then I'm blessed that I work from home and I can be with my son and stuff, but not everybody has that luxury. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And it's like I'm blessed that I was able to see my son take his first step, see my son crawl. If he was at a daycare, I would have missed all that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you said, like her first day of school. I'm not saying I'm taking the whole day off and I have to ask permission. Someone said they quit their job because they were tired of them telling her to go to lunch when she wasn't hungry. And
I feel
people are like,
it.
people are, people are like, that's so petty. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
No.
She valued her
Mhm.
freedom. She didn't
And
value
your
the money.
autonomy, yeah, and my autonomy over my doggone body. Like, how you gonna tell me to eat when I am hungry? That's
That's
insane.
That is, and I feel like for you to look at her that crazy, that tells you how warped our mindset is
Mhm.
about what's important. Because,
Mhm.
like, it's 2 o'clock. You're not hungry. You're not hungry. I don't have to go to lunch at this time because you said that's the time I should go to lunch. It's like a prison. Like,
Or,
what?
and
You know?
also like the concept of like I'm gonna work 8 hours and you give me a 30-minute lunch. 30 minutes for 7.5 hours of me working is insane to me. That's modern slavery. Like, so it's just a lot of stuff. Again, I'm not anti-job. I'm not anti 9 to 5, but I do feel like that whole system needs to be revamped and reformed. I did like when we were on the what was that, the Great Resignation wave, because I feel like it was the first time they put fear in a lot of these corporations because they know a lot of people
Right?
are chained to that check. And that goes back to what you were saying about that's why you got to have more than one way you can make money. Because even where we are right now, where everybody complaining about how we don't make enough money to afford rent and this and this and that. I'm like, if we all collectively caused an uproar, they'll change stuff. They would. They would start.
Yeah.
People start paying people more. They're gonna lower this rent. But it's like we just go along with it, and then nothing changes because we just going
Somebody
along with it.
somebody said two things. So somebody said it's unfortunate, and I have to say it's probably true. Like, the Alabama boycott,
Hmm.
how you know it took a year, or over a year of Black people coming together saying we're not taking the bus,
Hmm.
right? I What was it that it was going viral like 2 years ago for us to like put together to boycott something that we were supposed to boycott?
Oh, girl, it be them every day, so I don't know.
It do, but it lasted less than 24 hours.
Right? I don't even
I'm
remember. Is
like,
that the blackout thing? Was that what that was? Where like the day we
some
weren't buying? I
it's
don't
like
know.
Black Friday. I don't shop Black Friday anyways.
Hmm.
That's like I don't. I'm not that type of. If it's not in my budget, it's not in my budget. I don't care if it's on sale for $12, whatever. I
Hmm.
don't need. I don't need. I subscribe to minimalism anyways. If I can use it somewhere other ways, but it's like I think it was that, and it's like we couldn't come together for like 24 hours. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So it's like there's that whole other issue with
Hmm.
us as a people coming together anyways, but it's also like you said, even in the business aspect too, it's like you also, because you have the autonomy to build your business structure, you also have to make sure you building your business to work for you, not quit your W-2 to get another W-2 in
Hmm.
your business. You have to set boundaries
Hmm.
with yourself, with your clients, and with other people,
Hmm.
right? Because I remember one of my friends, she decided to leave her job to be a stay-at-home mom, and people now, because she's like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, you got time. So it's like, no, I'm like, you have to set boundaries. You
Hmm.
took that time to be with your family, so not to be pushed around by everybody else because now you got time, to do
True.
stuff. So even with your business, you have to set it to where it's going to work for me, and not like now a slave to the business too.
Hmm.
You know.
And I want to speak to that because that's one of the things I talked about in my video. Because I feel like that applies to you too. So not just other people, because if you're not careful when you're in business, you can get burnt out so fast. Like, because you get in this, like, I think that when you're used to working a W-2 job and you transition into entrepreneurship, you have this fear of like, if I don't work, I don't eat. So I feel like you then end up exchanging 40 hours a week for like 80 hours a week if you're not careful. Because I feel like you get kind of into a scarcity mindset type of thing, where it's like, okay, I could go, and I say this all the time. I want to go back to what you were saying about money management. And if you can't manage your W 2 money, I feel the same way about work ethic because I do believe when people are like everybody can't be an entrepreneur, I do believe that. And I feel like the main thing for me is work ethic. Because granted, I see a lot of people that's like, I only want to work 6 hours a week. That's not realistic. Now, I don't feel like you should be working 80 hours a week or nothing like that. But I do feel like you are going to work more in this business than you do a job. That's just facts. So I always say the good. What are the pluses? Yeah, I mean, I've been at it for 6 years now, and I still because I'm a solopreneur, so I work a whole lot. But I always say that same thing about money applies with work ethic because if you know you the person that go to work and you do just enough not to get fired, that's not gonna work when you work for yourself. You can't coast it in business. So if you know you go to work and you be on Amazon all day or you watching Netflix all day, you're not gonna be able to do that. Cause that's I always tell people, I think the number one best thing, the number one pro about a job is you get paid just for showing up. Like most modern jobs are office jobs. You could literally go to work the whole day and not do nothing. You could not do literally no work. It could just be a slow day. And you still gonna get paid for that day. Entrepreneurship do not work like that. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and I'm not seeing nobody. It doesn't work like that. Hmm. 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 A decade, honestly. Yeah, so it's still recording on my side. Yeah, I was like, it still says recording. Like,
It like it kicked me out, and then I don't know what happened. It just kicked me out. It still it still says recording on here, but it
yeah,
kicked
it's
me out.
still recording. But yeah,
Whatever.
girl, that I think is a big misconception of entrepreneurship because this I do see all the time. I'll see people like, I quit my job to be a content creator, and they ain't got one video of it. Yeah, they ain't got but one follower on TikTok, and it's just like that. I do want to speak to. So I know earlier I was saying like take the lead, but I feel like you have to have common sense. Like I said, it's I did not quit my job till I was 3 years into my business. I had a steady clientele. Again, I wasn't really able to predict how much money I was gonna make because I was limited to the weekend, but I was at least booked on the weekends consistently before
Exactly.
I quit my job. So that I do not agree with this thing that's like, oh, just quit your job and have faith and God gonna work it out. God helps those who help themselves. So
But
you
just pay
can't
for
put
that.
down on God.
faith is without works is dead. So if you're not
Exactly.
working, so it's like, yeah. But I don't want to make it this a generational thing, right? I don't. But I think like like you said, right? Baby boomers have their own thing.
Hmm.
Uh Gen X have their own thing. Millennial has their own thing, and then Gen Z has their own thing. So I'm not gonna bash any generation, right? But
Hmm.
I feel like, especially for millennials, with everything that we saw happen, especially in 2008, and like, what's going on right now, the pandemic and stuff. I think most of us are switching our priorities,
Hmm.
right? We're switching our priorities and like what's most important to us. So if that means I have to do this entrepreneurship, I'm going to take it more seriously because I want to make sure I have my, you know, you can't count. We're not going to have Social Security.
No.
We're
Mm-mm.
not.
Mm-mm.
And to just be like, oh yeah, I'm like, we can't do that. So like when you hear um certain generations, baby boomers mostly, saying, oh yeah, I work a job at 30 years, it's like the job don't even want me for 30 years,
Exactly.
right? And
Also, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. Also, and I'm sure you know this because you're in sales, it's beneficial to people like millennials and Gen Z to switch jobs because that's the only way you're gonna make more money. They're not gonna up your pay enough over them 30 years to justify you staying 30 years. So you do
exactly.
better staying 2 or 3 and hightailing it out of there.
Or depending on the field you are, move departments.
Hmm.
That's what I current job, move departments,
Hmm.
whatever. But it is some one of those things where it's like you have to go where the money is and
Yep.
don't be apologetic about it.
Nope.
Like this whole loyalty, I'm like, they have loyalty to their pocket, so I have loyalty to my pocket, or I have
Amen.
loyalty sense for me. Right now it makes sense for me to stay where I'm at and not try to go up.
Hmm.
Then they offer it to me, right? So it's like, why is that? Because it works for my lifestyle right now.
Hmm.
You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's like there are things that you have to make the system work for you and not just be like, hey, and like you said, not everybody should do entrepreneurship because you're gonna suck at it.
Or
But
so I feel like this. I feel like everybody does not have to be an entrepreneur in the sense of like this is my main source of income. I do feel like though, like you said at the beginning of this, you need to have something else. Whether you got stocks and bonds, you rent a room, you do door that you need to have some other kind of stream. I don't care if you sell pencils on Etsy. You should have something else that you are in control of it. Nobody else can come in. Because even when that big old wave was happening, like in 2020, where everybody was like, get an Airbnb, get an Airbnb, and you see how that's going to hell because all these laws and stuff have come out that's limiting where they could put an Airbnb. And it's all these millions of rules that Airbnb themselves has that's going to limit you, the person that's the renter, to how much
yeah,
money you can make. So I feel like you need to have something to where you are in control of it. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you got to start a business and do it full time. Again, you could sell pencils on Etsy. But well, high key Etsy is out of control, but it's just like something to where there's nobody else like lurking in the bushes that's like, you know what? I don't like you no more. I'm taking this from you.
I,
So yeah, I just feel like that's more so my thing is like I kind of don't like when people be like, oh well, that's not for me. Everybody ain't when they because I feel like people say the same thing about college. They be like, oh, college ain't for everybody, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I feel like it's more than one way to get an education to do something.
it's
College
about
may not be for you, but getting knowledge and skill is.
girl, me and you right there. Seriously, I you could have said it better because I'm like, start getting more income could be as simple as getting 2 extra hours at your current job, right?
Exactly.
So you're like, okay, I need more income. Like you said, I'm gonna do DoorDash and I'm gonna do this. But you know what? The other thing is reducing your expenses,
Mhm.
reducing your, you know what I mean? Do you really need, girl? So I was in the market for a car, ma'am. What are these people smoking on?
Oh yeah, I've heard the car prices are are insane. Right?
Not even just the car prices, the interest rate. I
Yeah.
have excellent credit. What?
Mhm.
$700 for a car? A used car?
Mhm. Yeah, one of my
They're not.
clients says she just got a Maxima or something like that, and her car note is $1,000.
I was like, no, that's okay.
Mhm.
I don't need. I wanted a car for the convenience of it, so me and my husband didn't have to share a car. But I said I work from home. My business is virtual. I don't need a car. seven
Mhm.
hundred dollars. $700 for a
Mhm.
used car.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it's
like,
insane.
and so those are the questions you have to ask yourself, especially if we're living paycheck to paycheck and we're like, oh, we need to make more money. Do you need to make more money, or do you need to just reduce your lifestyle?
Now, I want to speak to the opposite of that because that's one of the things I hated about Dave Ramsey. Because I was like, look, Dave, I can't cut no more. Again, I'm a single income household. I
Yeah,
need a car. At the time, my job was an hour away from where I live. I had to live where I live because my only help with my child is her dad, and we stayed close to each other. I had to pay for daycare to go to said job. So it's like sometimes I feel like it's not spoken to enough of like you do need to make more because I can't cut nothing else. If I cut
yeah,
anything else, I'm living in a tent. Like,
yeah.
especially you live a place like Houston, it's impossible to not have no car. It's just not a walkable. Now, granted, you don't need $1,000 car payment, but I do feel like that sometimes that is the answer because there's only but so much you could cut and it's just not enough money. Like, because even Dave Ramsey speaks to that. Sometimes it's not enough paycheck at the end of the month,
I,
and it's not because you out going out to eat or none of that. So, and I feel like everybody can benefit from making more money, regardless if you live in paycheck to paycheck or not. Money gives you options, and I think that's why we everybody wants more because what's beneath that is like again I want the option if I go to work today and my boss ambush me, I know I got money in the bank to be because I'm telling you that would have been the difference between now and had that what happened to me then and now again if I get a job just to supplement my business and they get to talking crap baby if they pronounce my name wrong at orientation, I'm like, I don't need this, true, because I know I got something else working for me. It's
yeah,
different when that's your end all be all.
you're
So,
not as that's a huge relief where it's like, okay, if I have to go and like take some time off to be with my family, and my job
mhm.
is like, did this thing say not recording? I need
No,
this
it just
thing to
said
not.
connecting. Mine said
I
connecting.
was like, oh hell no. um but it's like the like you said, it's like the freedom for options, and that's what money gives you. Because people say, oh, money is the root of all evil. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all
Mhm.
evil, because there is a point that it's like enough is enough, like you have enough money,
True.
right? Like you should have more than enough to not only like be a blessing to your family, to take care of your family, but also be a blessing to other people, right?
Hmm.
Like if I someone who needs it and it's just sitting in my bank account collecting dust anyways, I'm able to give you that. But I'm not in a position to help someone, or if I'm like living paycheck to paycheck. So the blessing of just having more is good because it helps
Hmm.
you and helps others. So
Hmm.
definitely. But the thing is, it's like, what are you doing for that more? Are you selling your soul to a job that you hate in order
Hmm.
for you to get that more? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I'm an advocate of like not climbing the corporate ladder if it doesn't make give if it doesn't make
Girl, that was me. That was me.
sense for you. Don't climb the corporate ladder.
Mm-mm. I
You know what
didn't
I
want
mean?
no
I'm not
part.
in that position. If that means I have to work more hours, like, or I could stay here, I'm okay.
Yep.
I could just because I don't have the same responsibility as this person,
Yep.
right? And yeah, I might be a worker bee. That's fine. but I can also just deuces and just
Exactly.
out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now it depends on the corporation, because some corporation, the higher you go, the more flexibility you have. You see what I'm saying? So you just have to take the time to look at, okay, does this make sense for me in my lifestyle and the things that are actually important to me
Hmm.
versus I'm just going after the money. There was this coaching class that I took, and one of the things that he made us do that I'm grateful for to this day, even though I didn't apply the other stuff that he taught us, but he made us write a mission statement for our lives.
Hmm.
And I took that to heart. And he made you write the mission statement for your life, and then he made you write what you want to be as a mother, what you want to be as a wife, what you want to be as an entrepreneur, how you want to be as a sister. And it's like those things, what will give you the ability to do those things, right? So it's like I want to be a stay at home, I want to homeschool my kids. Well, in order for you to do that, what does that look like? All of those things. Like, I want to be a better Christian. That means I have to spend more time reading my Bible, all of those things. So it's like the mission for your life. You write your mission statement, and then you're like, okay, just like for a business, right? You write your mission statement. It's like for your life, do you have a mission statement? And then look at all of the activities that you do. Are they supporting that mission?
Hmm.
And if they're not, you need to start removing things to say, okay, does this mean I can't do XYZ? So it's like same thing for your business. Same when you building your business, same thing. It's like, are you trading that toxic job for not a toxic business? Now you just the business owner of it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You still can't find time for your family and all of those things. So in building your business, you also have to look at it from that perspective. Like, why am I doing this? What's my big why? It's to spend more time with my family. So therefore, I'm going to set boundaries on myself. I'm going to set boundaries on my clients. I'm going to set boundaries on my vendors. Like, this is the perimeters in which we work.
Hmm.
If you can fit in the perimeter, great. If not, then we can't work together.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to know, and that's the one thing I coach a lot on is knowing some clients, it's not for you.
Hmm.
They're willing to pay the money, but I'm like, you come with a headache I don't want to deal
Hmm.
with.
I think that's one of the first lessons you learn in business is that all money ain't good money. I will refund, I will cancel, and I will do it politely so. If I feel like you're gonna be a headache, baby, I don't want you could have sent me a $10,000 payment and I'm gonna send it right back to you. If I know it's gonna be too much attached with it, I don't want it. And thankfully that is one thing that I feel like that's why I think it's important to start businesses that are aligned with you because I feel like you won't really have that problem too often because I don't too often have that problem. And I feel like because I pray that God just like aligns me with clients that align with me. So I don't
As
very often get people that like, we not here. And I feel like again because I think that my like alignment with my business kind of shines through. I'm not doing something just for money. I'm not doing something just because I saw somebody else doing it and they was making money. Like I said, I feel like this was on my path long before I realized it. And that's another thing, too, when I see people that start businesses, is like, you don't just start a business to start a business. Because, like you was just saying, what sense does it make to leave a job you hate, doing something you hate doing, to do a business you don't like doing either? Because I think I see that a lot with people that do hair. It seems to me like a lot of hairstylists nowadays hate doing hair. And it's like, girl, you don't gotta do hair if you hate it. Like you hate your customers because you hate doing hair. You got an attitude all the time with your people because you hate doing hair. Or
exactly.
you hate accounting or whatever it is you're doing.
It's like, if it doesn't bring you joy, what's the point? Like, I love
Exactly.
coming and talking about this, like
Hmm.
what we're doing right. I love
Hmm.
connecting, have that same mindset of growing their business, going after their purpose, right? Because everything we're just talking about right now is talking about purpose. It's not talking
Hmm.
about going money, and that's the huge difference. It's like,
Hmm.
and I'll stay in your lane, right? I have never sold $1 billion worth of sales. So I'm not gonna sit here and try to teach you how to sell something I can only go where I've been, right? So
Mhm.
I have not sold $billions worth of sales. I cannot go and tell you, hey, I'm gonna help you sell billions of dollars worth of sales. I've
Mhm.
had people who come like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm like, I'm not that type of person. I'm not the
Mhm.
person for you. Could I do it? Yes, but you would be a guinea pig, so I can't charge you.
Basically.
I charge you because hey, I think I could potentially do this, but I'm
Mhm.
not gonna charge you because I don't know if I can or not because I've never done it. I'm
Mhm.
pretty confident I could, but you paying me to get results, and I'm like, I don't know if I can walk you through that because I've never been there. And
Right.
I that's one of the issues with some coaches. It's like I'm coaching you to do something that I myself have never done.
I say that
That's
all
not
the time. The coaching space
that
is so toxic right now. Oh my god.
it. It's true though. It's like
Yeah.
I can get you to sell six figures,
Mhm.
almost a million, because that's the amount of sales I have made in my career.
Mhm.
I myself have not even gotten to the million mark yet. I was close, real close. You know what I'm saying? A couple $1,000 close.
Mhm.
I can't say I sold million because I have
Mhm.
not. But if you want to get to six figure sales in your business and
Mhm.
learn how to sell and stuff like that, I'm your girl. I can't get you to a million and billion. Once I reach that though, once I personally reach that goal, then I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm talking about. I can walk somebody through it because I have been through it. And that's one thing I hate when people just like, okay, so I know this guy, he wanted to open a franchise, a
Mhm.
well-known franchise. And so he looked at the numbers, did his research and said, okay, that makes sense
Mhm.
on paper. I'm gonna open this franchise. So he opened it. Quickly realized when this person doesn't show up, you don't realize there's a bunch of call outs in restaurant business.
Mhm.
Step in. So now he finding himself having to go physically into the business, doing the business that he hates.
Mhm.
He just looked at strictly the numbers. Does this make sense? It comes back to the numbers. But when somebody call out now, he has to go in to fill in for that business.
Mhm.
But so I'm like, if you hate it and you that's your business and your employees come see you come in here pissed off because
Mhm.
you have to cover for somebody else and you don't have the joy and the attitude and blah blah that of your own business, how you expect your employees to have that joy,
Exactly.
blah blah. You see what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
I'm like,
Mhm.
open a business just because it makes sense on paper
Mhm.
that I'm gonna XYZ, so therefore boom, and it's like you can't
Mhm.
even make that. You
Or
know what I
you
mean?
see
So
somebody else doing it, because I will speak to what you was just saying about the coaching. I see that a lot where like people will see somebody else say, I see that in my own industry. Like when people promote their classes and stuff, their favorite thing to say is like, I'm gonna show you how to make six figures. They probably ain't even making six figures. They just saying that to get to lure you in. Or they're like, oh, I'm gonna show you how to go from doing this on the side. They still got a job and they tell you about they gonna show you how to do it. They be lying.
that's and you know what made you know what made me start my coaching business is my not my last one, but like two sales jobs before my last one. Yeah. So I looked at how much sales I made. This is commission. I
Mhm.
looked at how much I made, and I was pissed. Like I said, at the end of the day, when I looked at how much sale I made for that month, it was close to $1 million.
Mhm.
How much I made for that company. And when I looked at what my cut was, it didn't make no sense. It was not even five figures. You see what I'm saying? I made
Mhm.
millions. My cut was not five figures.
Mhm.
And that's my fault. Because I was just like, I just needed a job at the time. I was like, I'm good at sales. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Right. And I was like, because again, toxicity, right? Leaving another toxic job. I was like, I
Mhm.
just need something. I know I'm good. I'll get hired. I got hired,
Mhm.
almost $1 million. And I'm looking at my paycheck and it's like, you ain't even give me 5 figures, bruh.
Mhm.
You ain't even give me 5 figures. I was like, I'm going to sell my own stuff at that
Mhm.
point because that
Mhm.
don't make no sense. So it's like, now after that, I was like, nah, I had other sales jobs after that. And I'm like, you know what? I was at a job where I sold insurance, and then I met this guy, and he was telling me he was not talking to me, he was talking about somebody else, and I was like, why don't you tell them? Because he was talking about his team, and I was like, why don't you tell them XYZ? They're probably not seeing it from this perspective, and he was like, that's a good point. He's like, you know what? You should come and talk to them. So I was like, cool, whatever. Talk to them. After I talked to them, he gave me a check.
Oh
He didn't tell
wow.
me what check. Yeah, I was like, I can make money doing this.
Mhm.
That's how it started.
Mhm.
Same thing. Like I wasn't going for because my passion is interior design. I was like, I want to try to do that maybe, but then I read somewhere it's just like there's your passion, and then there's like, and I feel like I'm great at interior design, and that's just me. But it's like there's a natural talent that you have. Capitalize on that, right? And when
Mhm.
that happened, I was just like, if I can make like he obviously saw value in what I gave, right?
Mhm.
And heck, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna figure out how to make this a business, and that's
Mhm.
how it started. But it's like you have to either have the skill for it, because some
Mhm.
people start something. It's like it sounds good right now. Do you have the skill for it? Can you walk someone from point A? This is where you are. I'm gonna get you to point B. If you can't do that, then don't start a coaching business because that irritates me. That really does. Because I'm like, you're just stealing
Mhm.
people's money. People are
Mhm.
here trying to leave their W-2 job to make something, and you coaching them on some BS.
Also, too, I feel like even if you have the skill, everybody isn't a teacher.
That
Like
part.
that's you might have the skill and not know how to translate it to someone else for
Point A
them. Because, like I told you, the very first class I took for microblading was
or
horrible. And ironically, the girl that was the artist, her work is beautiful. That was part of the reason I went with her. And she used to be a teacher. She was a biology teacher. So I'm like, how are you a teacher and you can't teach us this and you do this every day? So
can I
I would
tell you?
think that your teaching background, coupled with the fact that you have the skill, would make
Right?
it easy for you to. But everybody don't need to be teaching just because you have the knowledge either.
But that's what I'm saying. You have to be able to walk the person from point
Yes.
A to point B. So it's not just you having the skill. You need to have the skill, but be able to walk them
Mhm.
from point A in order for them to succeed. So I know coaching is like they were saying like coaching and online teaching is probably going to be one of the next $1 billion industry. It already is and stuff. So I understand why people because it's especially virtually, right? A lot of those things you could do virtually to teach people, so it makes it to where you could be anywhere in the world. So it's very an attractive business to get into. And at the same time, I'm like, people check people's credentials. Don't
Mhm.
just sign up for the class. And sometimes they, like you said, they have the credentials
Mhm.
and they said,
Yes, because I feel like I'm gonna speak to my industry specifically, and I'm sure this applies to any industry. I feel like we all know you're gonna make more money teaching something than doing the. I make more money doing a training class than I do a client. But and then again, so I've like in the industry I'm in, I've seen people. I've had people take a class with me, and like a month later, they teach in that class, and it's like you don't even know what you're doing yet. You're not even qualified because they know. Okay, I paid this much for this class. I don't know what I'm doing yet, so I can't charge premium pricing yet for the service. So I'm gonna just make it seem like I know what I'm talking about when all they're doing is regurgitating what I said. So it's just to me, I feel like that's what it is. It's a lot of people know, just like those YouTuber bro type of dudes. They don't get rich because they telling you how to get rich. They get rich from the course. They get rich from the courses that they're telling you that's gonna be nothing in them stupid courses, but a bunch of junk you could have found for free online somewhere. So I think
I,
that.
I'm an avid course taker, right?
Mhm,
Because I learn, and I feel like if somebody already took the knowledge, already went through it, I can
mhm,
let me bypass it, right?
mhm,
Hence why I take courses, right? Because I'm like,
mhm,
hey, I already have it. You don't need to spend the 10, 15 years that I spent learning it. You
mhm,
can get it. You know what I mean? But like you said, there's so many time wasters. I'm like, I could Google this.
mhm. But it's
I could
because
have.
they're attracted by the money that, again, you're going to make more money teaching something than doing whatever it is you do. I'm sure you make more money in coaching people than you would make like on a sale call, depending on the sale. So that's the thing. And that's why I think when you said that about you have to vet people, that is so true. Because anybody can be anybody online. Girl, it was last year I had to drag this girl on Instagram because she stole my whole like course description. I mean, copy pasted same emojis and everything for her same class. And I dragged her because I'm like, how are you teaching this class and you don't know what you're teaching? You got to come steal my words to sell the same course I'm selling. So that's why you got to vet people because anybody can get online and claim to know something. And then once they got your money, you ain't gonna figure out they don't know what they talking about until they got your money. So the check clears.
They better some dollars.
Yes, so I'm like, and that's why too. I like the everybody's trying to be a coach thing now. It's like it's not meant for everybody. That's not a space that's for everybody, regardless if you do have the knowledge or not. I feel like it's similar to like being a teacher or a nurse. You have to have a heart for that because it's hard to teach people. I can say that as somebody that teaches people. That's not easy to do.
Now
So.
for it too. I will admit, for me, my style of teaching is very like I'm a coach before I'm a teacher,
Mhm,
right? And you remember how what's the name said she's like a teacher or something versus a coach. I don't remember what she
mhm,
said, but
mhm.
I'm a coach. I will call you out. That is it's completely different than teaching, right?
Mhm.
While I do have patience, I will call you out. So if you like the type of person that's gonna make excuses and stuff like that, and gonna call you out. And the thing is, with what I do, which is sales coaching, most people are scared. That's
Oh
all
yeah.
it is.
Mhm,
They scared.
mhm,
So it's like I can teach you all the skills. I can then you like don't want to make the call,
mhm,
right? So like I'm starting a 5 day six sales call success challenge, just like what's the name? Because I loved her course so
mhm.
much, and her structure, right? So I'm mine was gonna be longer than that, and after I taken her course, I was like, child, I'm tired after this 5 day. Uh, were you too?
Yes, I gotta make a video today. Look, I just said that. Yes,
Listen,
it was a good
I'm
class though.
so I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna shorten mine because I was gonna do 10 day like and call it like a master class or whatever.
Mhm.
But after doing hers, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do 5 days.
Listen, I've done that before where I did like a I guess you could say it was coaching, but it was more like a mentorship and I did it that. I did it once and I was so exhausted. I was like, I'm never doing this again. And I
Yes.
think it was like 6 weeks. I was drained. I was like, oh, I ain't never doing this no more. I pulled
I
my
have
head out the mentorship
yeah.
circuit. Mm-mm.
That's why I was like, I'm gonna do structure the same way with the 5 day challenge
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's like the same thing. It's like, you know how like some people were afraid to put themselves out there with the video and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You could teach them all the stuff. They refuse to make the
That's
call.
that. Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have to get over that fear. So as part of the thing, that I had already set that in mind. So when I saw her, I'm like, that's exactly what I plan to do. It's like you're gonna have to make the call, one, record it so we can
Mm-hmm.
critique it together. and stuff like that. But that is the biggest thing. It's like you can have all of this, like
Mhm.
all of the book knowledge, all of the, I can tell you
Mhm.
all the stuff that you have to do, but at one point you have to pull the trigger. Same thing with starting a business. You
Mhm.
could do all the research, you could do all of those things. I sucked at sales. I'm telling you, I know exactly how everybody feels because I sucked. My first sales job, week 2, I was like, nah, I'm quitting. I
Mhm.
was about to quit. One girl just told me it's just a conversation. She was like, you just talking to people. It's just a conversation. 2 weeks on the job, I ain't sold nothing. I don't know why they kept me. This is commission sales too. I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know. This is not for me. But when she told me that, something clicked. So the next time I was having the conversation, I just talked to the person like, okay,
Mhm.
whatever. And I made my first sale. So from then on, I just started practicing,
Mhm.
getting better, learning what works for me, adapting and stuff like that, to where now I'm much better at sales. I don't even claim to be the best salesperson.
Mhm.
I don't even claim that. But guess what? All you have to do is be better than average.
Mhm. That's facts. And you know what? I want to say two things. I feel like, but what you said about you're a coach first, that to me is what you're supposed to give somebody when they pay you money to learn from you. It's not just like, okay, first you do this, then you do this, then you do, because like you just said, you could give somebody the knowledge. They could have got the knowledge from anywhere, but I'm investing in you because I want you to show me the action. What's the
Exactly.
action you put behind all this knowledge to get to you to where you are? And that's where I feel like a lot of people fall short because one complaint that I had about that first class that I took, me and all the people that was in my class with me, we all felt like the girl was holding back information. We felt like she was purposely like not showing us how to do stuff fully. And I was like, I don't know if maybe she don't want to make her own competition, but if you feel that way, you should be teaching no class. But you could tell that she was purposely like withholding, like, this is what I did to get from here to here. And I'm like, that's what we're paying you for.
$100. You better tell me everything.
Exactly. Exactly. And I also want to speak to, and then I'm gonna have to leave. I also want to speak to what you just said about when you first started your sales, because this is something I be wanting to scream from the mountaintop. Because again, as somebody that teaches people, I have probably taught at this point maybe like 200 students. Out of them 200 people, it's probably about 10 of them that's actually doing what they paid the money for. And that's because of fear, like you just said. A lot of them, I have to tell them, you got to embrace the suck. That is another like business lesson. I don't care what you do. When you first start doing anything, you're going to suck at it at first. You're not going to be good at it. So it's like a lot of times people allow that to just overcome them and they don't never really start because of this fear that they're not good at it. And it's like, don't nobody start off good at anything. It's what you just said. It's practice. It's repetition. When I first started doing microblading, God had to humble me because I went into that class like, shoot, I've been doing brows since I was in high school. I was the worst person in the class. I was terrible. This first like 10 sets of eyebrows I did, I had to delete the pictures on my phone because they just look so terrible. I was like, I can't look at this. I did that. That look horrible. But the difference was I kept going. And even it was 7 girls in that class when I took that training class. Out of 7 of us, only me and one other girl is still doing brows. And then only one girl outside of us two even started with it. The other 4 people left that class and never did nothing with it. And I'm sure a big part of that was that block of like, I took this class, I don't fully understand everything. I did the microblading and it looked ugly. I quit. Versus those of us that was like, it's ugly, but I told you, I'm glad God got me to be the type of person I don't like to waste my money. So I was like, and I spent my money to figure this out. And look at me now. And a lot of them tell me that. They're like, wow, you inspire me because you show me had I stuck it out, I could be where you are now. So that's facts that like you gotta learn to like embrace being bad at stuff in the beginning.
You're gonna have to embrace the suckiness. I
Hmm.
had to embrace fear of like, I'm doing this, like this 5-day challenge. I have a fear that I'm like, nobody may sign up for it.
Mhm.
Right? That's a legit fear. I'm like,
Mhm.
I might this thing, run my ads, put all this work into it, and nobody show up.
Mhm.
Or I may sell out.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? I may sell out. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do it, put
Mhm.
my faith in, and if nobody buys, I'm gonna go back to the board and be like, why did nobody buy? Did my offer was not explained correctly?
Mhm.
Right? Did I show the value? Was my marketing horrible? Something went wrong, right?
Mhm.
And then you go back to the drawing board and do it again. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
you cannot let life. There's 365 verses in the Bible about fear
Mhm.
for each day.
Mhm.
How important it is for you to get over your fear. I was afraid to press record on my first little podcast thing. My camera is horrible. Those videos are still up. My camera is still not that great. Those videos are still up.
Mhm.
And so it's like somebody's gonna get something out of this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that person could become my next client. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep going, and that's it. You just gotta keep going and just
Mhm.
suck it up. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Mhm. And just accept, I think that was a big business lesson for me too, is that fear is not necessarily a stop sign. A lot of times when you feel fear, it's probably your sign to keep going, if anything. Because what's on the other side of that fear is going to be something you really, really want a lot of times. I've learned that in my own experience. So I think fear is just your body being uncomfortable doing something different. It's not necessarily a sign that, like, I feel like there's fear and like doing things, and then there's like our, caveman fear of like when you walk with your car in the dark. That's a legitimate fear. But that like other kind of fear is all in your head. And I always, well, one trick that I use when I do feel fearful, because just like you, I'm dropping a class today, like in an hour. I'm dropping an online class. Nobody might have signed up, but I didn't been down this road enough to know, like you said, I could go back, figure out what's going on, push it out there a little bit more, whatever. There is a small amount of fear there, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because what I've learned is that how many other things were I fearful of in the beginning, but I did it and I came out on the end. I was
That's what I'm saying.
terrified to go to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college. When my mama dropped me off, because I went to college out of town, it wasn't out of state, but out of town. My mom dropped me off that orientation, and I literally bawled my eyes out in the stairwell. I was so overwhelmed and scared, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what to expect. I was overcome with fear, and now I got 2 degrees. So it's like, how many things in your life have you done that was scary? Again, I moved out of state essentially by myself. We've all done things that were like really terrifying to us in the beginning, and a lot of times those things end up being some of the best things that ever happened to you. I'm sure when you first met your husband, you was like, I don't know, because the last one he was on something, but you went for it, and now you get that on the other side. So it's just like you have to remind yourself of that fear lies to you a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like, and
Hmm.
especially, and you just have to remind yourself that God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power and sound mind, and
Hmm.
that's you not crazy. You have a sound mind. You
Hmm.
know you could do. You know what I'm saying? You know you
Hmm.
can do this. You know you have the skill set, and you could just do it. That's it. And here's the worst thing is people think it's a fear of failure, but failure you don't learn from success.
Mm-mm.
If everything well, you don't know what you didn't do right.
Exactly.
So you have to learn from, like, one thing for me, I realize in all of my job, this is one thing I do very, very well now. Now, beginning, I did not know that, but I started paying attention. For all the corporate jobs I've had, I had a customer relation niche, if that makes sense. So for example, I worked at Verizon, right? Sales. and I realized one of my customers were white males, 50-year-old or older, in the real estate or business, but a lot of them were in real estate. I realized those specific customers, I can sell to them with my eye closed. So you know what I did? I targeted those customers.
Mm-hmm.
I targeted them because for whatever reason, I can sell to them. Anything I tell them, they will buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I made my focus them. Another job, I realized it was millennial, black female millennial my age I could sell to. So guess what? I targeted them. So eventually in your niche, you're gonna figure out, okay, just like they say, your niche, your people, whatever, you're gonna have to figure out the language that works for them, speak them, and target them. Everything you're gonna have to get over that. I did not know that was my customer base at first. I was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized, okay, my last 5, 6, 7 success were these people. So let me see if I focus on them. And that's it. So I think everybody, no matter what your business is, one, the lesson of the today, because I know you have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One is stop running after the money, right? Stop running
Mm-hmm.
after the money because you don't want to leave miserably, leaving your W-2 job
No.
just for a day. And don't get pressured into having to do, you know, like into having to leave your W-2 job to start and become a boss B.
Mm-hmm.
And you're flat
And
on your butt.
also, don't get trapped in a job. If the business is popping off, don't allow the job to anchor you down either. So it go each way. I feel like you got to know what's your goal in the end. Because if your goal is to eventually leave this job, it's gonna become a time where your job is just weighing down. Your business is trying to rise, but you being at this job is the anchor
I,
weighing it down. So you got to know when to cut that too. I feel like it
I,
goes each way.
I had to tell my sister that she's an attorney and she's a wealth advisor. And I had
Hmm.
to tell her, go. It's time to let go of the job. You know, she had a
Hmm.
nice, she wanted to keep it. I'm like, let it go. The
Hmm.
moment you let it go, your business is going to, you
Yep.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
Had to do. So
Hmm.
sometimes you have to when it is to be like, okay, now it's time to walk away and give your 2 weeks. And again, corporate America will be there. You can always just update and put it out there. It's not like you weren't doing nothing. You were running a business.
And let me tell you something. And look, we're going to be for real. A lot of times when you get a taste of working for yourself, it's really hard to go back to a job. Even when times get hard in your business, you be like, okay, I know for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and get this job. I'm getting in and out. I'm going, I'm staying for like 3 months, get what I need, and I'm gone. Because I think once you get out of that world and you experience that, like, wow, I don't have to call in to let someone know I'm sick today. I can just be sick. I can just pick my kid up from school and it's not all this, flutter about that. If I were to take Thanksgiving off, I don't got to put in a leave request. So I think once you get a taste of that, I honestly feel like when times get hard, again, if you got to get a job, get a job. I just recently had a job temporarily. I just left the job like 2, 3 weeks ago because I was like, mm-mm. I told you, you get to talking too crazy to me. I'm like, bump that job now. And that's what happened because we just had a hurricane here a month ago. And the job I had was remote and we didn't have power. We didn't have power for like 4 days. So I'm texting my supervisor lady, like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to come in there. I don't have power. Do you know on like day 3, the lady is like, oh, you can't go to somebody else's house? Who got power, lady? It was a hurricane. That kind of stuff right there just reignited. Like, this why I can't do this no more. Never once asked me, was I okay? Is my family safe? Her
Girl,
response was, can you go somebody else's house?
my friend supervises in Illinois, and people were telling you because I'm in Florida. We just had
Hmm.
Hurricane Derby pass
Hmm.
through. Her supervisor in Illinois, and people were saying, "Hey, I lost power. My internet's acting funny." She told them, "Why don't you just go in the office?
That's what I'm saying.
You
Like,
want me to drive my car when the flood during a hurricane to go on an
But in
outage.
this case, everybody across America knows how terrible the power grid is in Texas. So I'm like, if I don't have power, that means whoever I know ain't got no power either. That's one. And then I'm like, I don't even know nobody here. I don't have no like, and like you said, I'm supposed to drive through flood waters and down power lines and all. Girl, you don't go there. So again, if you gotta go back to work, I really feel like when you get used to working for yourself, you approach it with a totally different mindset. You like, okay, I'm here, I'm gonna stay here for X, Y, and Z, re-up my savings, and I'm out. I ain't trying to make no career of this mess no more because stuff like this is the reason why I left in the first place.
Yeah.
So I feel like you got to know like what's your plan going into it. And I again, it cannot be money. It cannot because in business, money is fleeing. Like you said, one month you be making bread, and then the next month you like, oh my God, I can't even put gas in my car. So the money in business is a roller coaster. And I think that's why I see a lot of people when, like I was saying earlier, when they get online and they're like, "I think I'm ready to quit on my business." It's they having a slow month. I'm like, you're
Yeah,
crying out because your
that
sales are slow. Because, like I said, even when my sales are slow, I ain't never felt like that. I ain't never felt like, man, I'm gonna just give this up. Again, my mindset is like, okay, I'm gonna try to give me a part-time job or something at Target if I got to. Like to get keep
yeah.
everything afloat, and then once it get back afloat, I'm gonna cut my losses with Target. I'm never in that mind because again, it's not about the money for me. It never was. Money is an awesome byproduct, but that can't be the why that you're doing your business. It can't be.
You it's funny because Stephanie Perry had an episode with I forgot her partner's name. But
Rashida.
she's Rashida, yes.
Hmm.
She said and I never forget that. She's like, when I get a job, I get it for a purpose, right?
Hmm.
She was buy those jeans in high school. Once I got those jeans, I quit the
Hmm.
job. And it's funny because me and my sister, we always did the same thing for the longest time.
Hmm.
Like, especially when we're married, no kids, we'll be like, okay, I'm getting this job so I can buy me a car. Once I finish paying off the car, I'm out. We'll do
Hmm.
that. What's another job? I'm getting this job so I can buy me this and that. But at one point, it's like you get settled in,
Hmm.
and that's comfortable, and that's where the red flags should start going off. The
Hmm.
moment you find a job, that's when your red flag should go off. I remember one of my friends, he lives in Canada, and he said he was very, very comfortable at his job. He was making over six figures, he was cool, whatever. And he was waiting for a promotion. He didn't get the promotion. He was kind of crushed. But they were like, we're gonna give you a raise and blah 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 because you're a good worker, blah blah blah. So he's like, he's excited.
Hmm.
He said he's amounted to 50 cents an hour.
Oh wow.
And he felt so insulted. And that's when his never again moment came. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that comes for us in like different phases of life. Me, it was when I was 25 years old, and it's kind of stupid. But when I was 25 years old, one my cousin died at 27, and she had just got married, just given birth, and complication with the birth, she died. And you're thinking like, wow, like you're at the height of your life, everything's going well, and you pass away. And I remember like one of my coworkers, her, I think her sister or somebody very close to her passed away, and she had like a 2 week grievement period
Hmm.
or something. And
Bereavement.
I'm like, somebody that close to me passed away, and you telling me after 2 weeks you better come back.
Hmm.
And I was just like, wow. After that, I was like, I need to be in a position that if I need to take a year off to
Hmm.
deal with this, like I need to take a year off. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so that's kind of like started the journey for me. And I did multiple different, try different business stuff before
Hmm.
I figure out, okay, this is the one I'm gonna do. I tried marketing, I tried online shop, I tried a bunch of stuff, girl. But all I
Hmm.
knew is I needed to find something that was gonna work for me to give
Hmm.
me independence from my W2 job,
Hmm.
right? That's the thing. So it's like you have to figure out your why. And once that snap, you better not let nobody like it. You're gonna have slow moment at your job anyways, because sometimes they may let
Mhm.
you go.
Yeah,
It's a risk either way. So just choose.
exactly. And if you're gonna do both, plan your work and then work your plan. Because again, if you know in your heart of hearts, this ain't for me no more. I've been doing accounting, I've been doing nursing, whatever it is, for XYZ, I'm tired. I'm ready to do the next thing. While you still at that job, plan your work and then work the plan. Because again, my plan took me 3 years. It was 3 long, painful years. Because every day I used to be like, I'm quitting. I was that person like, man, I got one client, but I finna quit because God gonna work it out. But I couldn't be stupid like it took a lot for me to just not be like, okay, I had one client this month. I had to wait till my business got more stable. But I already knew that like this just ain't for me anymore. So it's like you gotta know what you want. And if you also I will speak to if you're the type of person you do know that you like stability. Maybe you could just get a part-time job. It may not be like a full-time because that is a lot to be trying to do that in a business. Maybe you can get a part-time job and that gives you the stability that makes you feel
That
more comfortable in your business so that and you get more freedom and flexibility because personally, I feel like everybody with a job should be working part-time. I personally feel like in the modern society we live in, 40 hours is way too much for everybody. Everybody should be working part time and paid like they full time. So, but yeah, I feel like you can't. And I had to learn that lesson because, like I was saying, I was listening to all these podcasts and reading all these books and stuff, and I felt like a lot of them didn't speak to me because, again, I'm like, I'm a single person. I got a kid. I'm in a state where I ain't got no family. So, because even when I was saying with that job, I couldn't
you
even
get
get a part time job because my schedule with my daughter, she's with me a week and her dad a week. So I was like, what job is not gonna let me come to work for a whole week? So that didn't again, I couldn't do the Dave Ramsey plan or how he be like, get it. So for me, I had to do DoorDash. I was like, this works for me because I can work it when I want to, and I work it when I don't work to. It ain't no set hours. So I feel like the biggest thing to me that I would say for somebody to take away in all of what we're talking about is take the advice but mold it to where it works for you because that's it. Ultimately that's what's at the end of it is like you got to do what works best for you. But if you
yeah,
team job or team business or team both, figure out a way to make whatever it is you decide work for you.
yeah, and work in purpose. Work
Hmm.
on purpose or purpose.
Hmm.
And it's like you said, whatever it is, make it to where it's you and not the job. It's whatever
Hmm.
your. And I know you have to go, girl, because you got business to run. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I want to know. So you said you are launching a course. Where can people find you? What can all the stuff? Where can they find you? What about your course that's launching out? Tell me more
Okay.
about that.
So the course I'm launching, this is my first, actually I'm technically launching two online courses. One is for henna brows, so it's called Henna Brows 101 The Posh Your Pretty Way. That is my most popular service that I do, and it's also the number one training class that I offer. And I get people like just in the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 people fly from out of state to take this class. I have people email me all the time, like, "Oh, do you have it available online?" So it was
Yeah,
just the demand was there. So I'm like, I'm gonna give the people what they want. So in the class, you will learn how to do henna brows. The good thing about henna brows is if you are somebody that's interested in becoming a brow artist or just in the beauty industry, period, there's no licensing that you need or any kind of like previous training that you need to offer the service. It's non-invasive. There's no needles involved, no bloodborne pathogens or any of that. You could do it on yourself. You could do it on your teens if you got teens. It's available to anybody. So it's an awesome class. It's going to be, oh, actually, it's out there now. I haven't announced it, but it's available. If you go to my website under Pretty Institute, that's where all my classes are. You'll find it on there. Also, you can find me on all the social medias under Posh and Pretty Brows. So I'm Posh and Pretty Brows on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, YouTube. I don't have but one video on YouTube. But I'm about to record another one today. Oh, I'm gonna be putting the video out. May not put it out today. I'll probably put it out tomorrow about like how to get your first clients. So that is why I wanted to do the call with you because I'm like, oh, the girls could use. Also, we'll talk about that. That you're gonna be on my platform too. But yes, that's how you can find me. If you are in Houston or surrounding areas, I'm located in the Clear Lake area, about 3 minutes from NASA. If you want to come get your brows done, I also travel once a month to Baton Rouge. I'll be in Baton Rouge this week. This week coming. If you want to come get your brows done, I'm your girl. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really, really enjoyed that video. I think it's something, it doesn't matter what industry you're in,
Hmm.
it's like things that you need to consider when starting your business. And especially for us and our community, the Black community, I think we need to take it even more seriously because we need to increase ownership of our
Oh yeah,
stuff. Like we need that. So
absolutely.
those things so you could start a business and succeed in your business is very, very cool. So I really, really love that video that you made. So
Thank
kudos to
you.
you. Yeah, awesome. So I will probably not post this week,
Okay.
but I will stop post and yeah, and then that's it. I'll send you the clips and everything like that.
Oh,
But
awesome.
yeah,
It
so
was
you could
good talking to you,
follow
girl.
Instagram and wherever else, and then we'll go from there. But yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
I thank you for having me. I love this time. Look, I feel like we could talk forever, child.
know. I know. That's why I was like, oh, sorry, 12 o'clock. I know you said you had somewhere to go, so let's
Yes,
wrap it up.
ma'am.
But
I
I always
appreciate it.
video, huh?
Oh, I just said I appreciate it. I appreciate the
Oh,
time.
of course. I always wrap up all of my videos with the same thing because God is the center of my life. So I always tell people that if you are overwhelmed, have questions, concern, always know that you can go to God. All you have to do is ask Him. He will teach you, counsel you, and guide you in the way that you should go. So thank you again for spending the time with us today. Thank you for coming. And you guys have a blessed day.
Thank you.